Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lax rats alike, welcome back to another episode of the Crease Dive. Today is Friday, holy shit, I didn't even realize this. This is a Friday the 13th episode, little spooky episode of the Crease Dive. And the 2022 NCAA College Lacrosse Tournament is officially underway. We had two play-in games going on earlier this week with Vermont waxing the shit out of Manhattan and Delaware, curb stomping Robert Morris. I'm Jordie from Barstool. With me, as always, we've got Doogs on the mic. And Doogs, it is finally here. The first round of the tournament gets going tomorrow afternoon. How we feeling, brother?
Well, I don't know. So this is Wednesday that we're recording. So I'm picturing myself Friday morning right now, not being good because it's Friday the 13th and you just ruined my morning vibes. Going to work Friday the 13th, a little bit scared for the weekend now. I don't think I have a good history with Friday the 13th, especially not in my betting repertoire. So I don't know, but right now I'm feeling good. Back in the Mecca, back in Garden City, back on the island, not in the island, on the island. Some of these teams, Jordie, that are coming up this weekend might be playing on the island in a couple of weeks. So if they're lucky enough, maybe I'll come down and see them. But yeah, I'm excited for this weekend of the games. One of my obviously favorite weekends of the year. Always fun to see what little mid-major can give a big boy a scare in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like I'm thinking, these games, they just wrapped up on Wednesday. Both Vermont and Delaware looked like wagons. Now, granted, listen, we're a huge Manhattan Jaspers fan. Like, we're the number one Jaspers podcast out there. Realistically, like, they might just like suck at lacrosse and they might suck hard at lacrosse. So I'm going to take that Vermont win with a little bit of, a little grain of salt there. Final score on that one was 15-3. And it was like 11-2, like maybe early in the third quarter. Like, I was already thinking to myself, like, all right, like Vermont needs to save a few goals left in the tank for when they have to actually need them against Maryland. So that game, could have been a whole lot worse than a 15-3 score already makes it look. I'm watching the Rangers just scored to take the lead on the Penguins.
Again?
And what's up?
Again?
Oh no, that was just a replay. All right, still 4-3. But yeah, so I mean, that game 15-3 like already looks like a shit kicking. It could have been a whole lot worse. And then that Delaware win over Robert Morris, 20-8, another one, 12-goal win that looked a whole lot worse. I mean, Delaware though, like that win over Robert Morris, that should be a little scary to Georgetown. Like, Friday the 13th should spook them out in the first place. And then the fact that they have to play against that Blue Hens team in the first round, also extra spooky.
Yeah. I'll say this. Vermont, coming into the year, top 20, had a lot of returning guys coming. They had Burke at the faceoff X coming back. They looked poised to be a top 20, top 10 team for the entire year. They started off the year awful. They had some bad losses to begin the year, just some dick kickings. 3-game skid against Dartmouth, Providence, UMass. Just didn't look like the team that we thought they would be. But they played a good keeper, in my opinion, in Brendan Krebs today.
And they lit him up. I mean, Thomas McConvey and Michael McCormack, like, both of those guys were slinging it. Like, I don't even think that they realized that there were 5.5 other feet of net below that top shelf. Like, I think they strictly thought that the only place that you could score on a lacrosse net is like those like 4 to 6 inches right under the crossbar. And they were just painting it.
Anytime you see 29 shots, you're going to be in a rough day, especially for Krebs. I will say, I do wonder, Clark had him pretty high on the PLL board, but I wonder if that's the last we've seen him in cage. But overall, great career. If not, not much else to say on that game. It was kind of a wash, kind of sucked. But I know that you don't want to play Vermont right now. They're one of the hottest teams in the country. And then Delaware, what's not to say? I kind of saw this as a dick kicking all the way through. When I saw the spreads were 7.5, it was 7.5 in favor of Vermont and 2.5 in favor of Delaware. I honestly thought that it was going to be like 5.5 Delaware and a little bit lower for Vermont. Manhattan wasn't the team that I thought they were, and Delaware was the team that I thought they were. So yeah, nothing really too shocking though in the playing games.
Yeah, no, I will say like and this isn't like anything to Vermont's like own doing, but like this stretch that so after starting the season 1-6, and yeah, like they had a good win over Penn State. I know that Penn State sucked ass this year, but like I'm still going to call win over Penn State a good win for Vermont. Ever since that 1-6 start, like, yeah, they've been on fire. They've won, I don't know, like probably 8, 9, 10 games in a row at this point. None of them are against like teams that really like know how to play lacrosse like that well. So the fact that like, so I mean, like let's just run down like so NJIT, Canisius, UMBC, UMass Lowell, Albany, Binghamton. So, like the fact that they've been running through those teams, and then they get faced up against Manhattan in the first round, like another team who's right on that level. The fact that they have to go from that to now going up against Maryland in the first round,
who's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Maryland, like just a known like mover of the lacrosse ball, scorer of the lacrosse ball, stopper of the lacrosse ball. Like they've been known to do a few of those things. Like if I'm Vermont, I'm a little upset that we didn't get the Robert Morris matchup to at least like test us a little bit better and get us like this is like someone who like just learned how to make like a PB&J sandwich. And now you're on the line cooking at like a Michelin star restaurant. And they're like, okay, here you go. Like you just learned how to do a peanut butter and jelly. Now like make this souffle. I don't know. It's like, we understand, like we were winning lacrosse games, but that's not the same thing as playing against Maryland.
Yeah. It's kind of like you're a business major freshman year of college. You're taking Econ 100 and you're like, oh, this business shit's really easy. You're feeling like Jordan Belfort. You're watching The Wolf of Wall Street. You really think you got this business shit down. Then all of a sudden you get your dick kicked in by Finance 300. You're doing statistical like theories and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. That's what it's going to take. It's basically from going to Econ 100 to Finance 300 when you play Manhattan versus Maryland. But yeah, at least they saw a good keeper. That's all I'll say.
They saw a good keeper. They got a lot of high volume shots. And I do think that they could have scored way more goals in that game than they actually did. So that means that there's going to be at least a few reserve goals from tonight that'll carry over into Sunday against Maryland. But again, like, so that's, listen, I love Vermont, big fan of the Catamounts, big fan of Burlington as a city, awesome place to visit, great beer, great food, good music and shit like that. So nothing but love for Vermont. They're going to get fucking plastered against Maryland, but like anyone would in the first round. That Delaware win though, like that was one where I'm like, okay, like Georgetown is going to win that game most likely, but it's going to be a game. Like it's going to be within 5 goals, I think.
No, I don't disagree at all. It's going to be awesome to see like Mike Robinson, I think one of the best shooters in the country, going against like McElroy, Bowen, that Georgetown defense. Yeah, I think Georgetown's probably a little bit, probably a little bit more talented. They got a lot of threats on that roster. But yeah, I mean, if Vermont going back to Vermont, if they want any prayer, Tommy Burke's going to have to have a game and a half. He's going to have to give them possessions. I will say this. I saw McNaney had like a season high 13 saves, which McNaney, if you remember last year, if you've tuned in last year, I shit on McNaney last year. I thought he was overrated, not good. He shut me the fuck up. I've had nothing to say about him this year. I think he's had a wonderful season. He's had like a season high 13 saves, maybe in the Big Ten championship or the semifinals. I don't know. If Vermont gets enough possessions and they start letting him loose on McNaney, and he's seeing more shots than he's seen all year, you don't know what's going to happen because you're just not used to that volume. Vermont's got good shooters, so that's the recipe for an upset. But it's the same recipe as last year. When
well,
Vermont
it's
the same recipe as last year. And they sucked. They lost by like 13.
Yeah, I think Was it that bad? I thought it was like, I thought it was like
60.
I thought it was like 6 goal. Yeah. I mean, 6 goals is still like, it wasn't close. It wasn't like, Vermont almost had them by like the skin of their teeth type of thing. No, but that is a really good point that you bring up. And like, I feel like most of the time you're in that situation, you're Vermont and you're going up against Maryland. And like, I feel like the smart play would be for a coach to be like, all right, boys, like we just got to go in there. We got to really make sure that we take care of the ball. We have to, really cherish all of our possessions, really work hard to get some good looks. Doesn't need to be the first look, like that type of shit where it's like, hey, like go out there, play smart, and maybe we can make this a game. If I'm Vermont, like you just said, I throw all that bullshit right out the window and I say, boys, you get the ball in your stick and you're within like 15, 14 yards, let that shit fly. Like if it gets stuffed, it gets stuffed, fine. But like if we can get 30 shots on net or at least around the net, yeah, I think, a few of those might drop a little bit. Now, I'm not saying just shoot from anywhere because Logan McNaney's not a good goalie and he's going to let it up. But to the point that you brought up, like, yeah, it's not something that he's necessarily used to. Now, getting all those shots off is going to be the difficult part for Vermont. I don't know if it'll be that difficult for Delaware, though. I mean, they have guys who love to shoot. I mean, just in that game alone earlier, it was, Ty Kurtz had, I think 9 shots. I think Mike Robinson might have had like 10 shots. JP Ward might have had somewhere around that. So like guys who get the ball often and like to put it on net. So, I mean, that's a good little lineup that they have there. I'm high on Delaware, but I still think that Georgetown is just way too good this year and especially bigger on McElroy being able to hop in there and, stop, put a lot of the kibosh on a lot of those.
Yeah. This is at the risk of sounding very stupid, there doesn't seem like an easy game in the first round. Does that like?
I would. I mean, I would.
Team, like, who do you think's the easiest game?
Okay, like, so one, I would say Maryland and Vermont
is an easy game for Maryland.
Is an easy game for Maryland
for sure, but you can't take Vermont lightly. Like, I'm not saying like. And also, last year's game was 17-11. So again, it's just you can't be falling asleep this week looking ahead of the schedule. Will Maryland win by 9? For sure. Like there's no doubt. Like they'll probably win by 10 or some shit. Like, and we'll be like, why do we even think this was going to be a game? But I just don't think that they should take this week easy. I don't think that there's any cakewalks.
Can I say something? I have a take, and I want to get to it a little bit later. I don't want to talk about this matchup just yet, but it's something that I've been talking myself into over the last 17 to 24 hours.
Yeah, let it fly. What else are we doing on this podcast?
Well, so obviously, Maryland, Vermont, I think that's an easy game for Maryland. I think the next easiest game here, and this one hurts to say because I hate them so much, I think it's Rutgers over Harvard.
Fuck you, Jordie.
I've been talking myself into this for most of the day right now. I don't see that being much of a game at all.
Well, let me tell you why you're wrong. Sam King won. 2, if there's anybody that I'm going to trust as a coach to put a stop to this NASCAR offense bullshit, it's Jerry Byrne. You give Jerry Byrne a week or 2 to prepare for that NASCAR offense.
I just think you've got a bunch of kids at Harvard, bunch of young kids playing in the tournament. Big moment for them. They haven't played in a couple weeks because they weren't good enough to get into the Ivy League tournament. So they haven't played a game in 2 weeks. They haven't been hot to end the regular season. So it's not like they finish the season strong. Like they limped their way out of the regular season, haven't played in 2 weeks, have a bunch of freshmen leading the way offensively. Then they have to go up against Cole Kurse, who's one of the best goalies in the nation and a guy who can really get hot and really steal a game if he has to. I don't think he'll have to steal this one, but he can take over a game. So you've got a bunch of freshmen who are going to get stuffed by Cole Kurse or Colin Kurse. Too many Kurse to keep up with. bunch of freshmen who are going to get stuffed by Colin Kurse. They're going to start to feel, a little down on themselves, but at the same time, like they're like, well, you know what? Like we have 3 more years of this shit anyway. Like they're going to feel down on themselves, but not to the point where it's like, we really have to get it together right now, because not only will our season end, but our career ends. It's different. Like when you've got a bunch of seniors leading the way, it's like, hey, if we don't win this, like that's the last time we're putting on our jersey. Sam King is a great lacrosse player. He loses this game on, so that's a Sunday game. He still has 3 more years to put on that Harvard sweater.
I genuinely believe that Jerry Byrne will have a plan for this Rutgers offense. I get the means more.
Everyone has a plan until you get punched.
And you know what this Harvard team does? They have nothing to lose. You never fight a guy that has nothing to lose, Jordie.
I think they have a lot to lose. I think that this is
Harvard. They got the national championship in 2025. They got nothing to lose this year. They're ahead of schedule.
Well, exactly. Well, but what I'm saying is like, this is like, they have the ability to make the Ivy League, and well, they have the chance to make the selection committee look like the biggest bunch of jokes known to man. Like this, if they lose by more than, I'll just say 3 or 4 goals, like Donna looks like a complete and total asshole. She already does,
yeah.
But
so here's my thing. I agree with like, so they beat Princeton, but then that Yale loss they were right there. That was in overtime. It's like, I think they were just starting to play their best ball.
Were they? They were 1-3 to close out the season, and then they haven't played since the end of April.
So the Cornell loss was really bad. The Penn loss was close. Princeton was their best game of the year, and then I thought they lost. They lost their keeper. What's his fucking name? Look, Kyle Mullen. They lost Kyle Mullen, like middle of that Yale game. I think they would have locked it up if he was the goalie. So I just think they got unfortunate, and then they win that game. They're in the Ivy tournament. Could they beat Brown? They already did earlier in the year. So like, I don't know. Then we're talking about Harvard. Oh, they just dropped the Ivy League championship to Penn, and then you're gonna say Penn's really good. They're a Philly school, Philly tough, blah blah blah, and then we have a whole another narrative. So
well, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
Let me fucking have this. I'm on fucking Harvard to win. I can't fucking. I agree. Like,
I hate Rutgers too. I hate Rutgers, but here's the thing: if Mitch Bartolo shoots 1,400 shots and he hits the cage on like 4 of them, then that's going to have Harvard rattled. If Ross Scott is putting defensemen in the blender at X, that's going to have him rattled. If Colin Kurse is making saves left and right because no one can get it around his big ass body, that's going to have him rattled. I think I've talked myself. I'm not going to be able to talk myself off of this one. It hurts to say because of how much I hate Rutgers, but I think that they spank Harvard. So to answer your question that was posed like 8 minutes ago at this point, I do think that there's two easy games in the first round.
Yes. Just my last point, Rutgers got kind of shit dicked by Princeton earlier in the year, 16-11, and Harvard shit kicked Princeton a little bit, 19-16. So maybe we can look at a 19-11 Harvard victory for people out there. Maybe. I was asked if I wanted to go to the Harvard Rutgers game in Piscataway. I don't think I could show my face there.
Just based off of all the shit that we talk on Rutgers, or well, yeah, I guess you would also be. Oh, we could talk. I feel like I could go at this point. I feel like I just said all good things about Rutgers there. That might have canceled. I still hate them, and I would never want to go there. But I feel like I could show up after that rousing support.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, all right, Rutgers fan.
All right, so let's talk about. All right, so obviously we got right into some of the previews there, but everything gets going on Saturday at noon. So we've got Saturday 12, 2:30, 5 p.m., 7:30 p.m. I'm so happy that it's not like there are a ton of games in the tournament, but there's still like always the chance that the NCAA would be like so dumb and have like 2 games go off at 12 and then 2 games go off at 5. So couldn't be happier that all those are staggered. So everything on ESPNU. And so you can just sit there on the couch, leave that channel on all day. You can throw on some Stanley Cup playoffs, some NBA playoffs, whatever you want on another screen, but you know that everything's just staying right there on ESPNU from 12 to probably, I don't know, like 9:30. Same thing on Sunday. Obviously Final Four weekend is awesome, but like this is the first Thursday, Friday of March Madness.
Yeah, it's a toss up with this. Do you like more lacrosse this weekend, or do you like next weekend where, you see some of these teams, you get an upset. The thing that I love is you get an upset this week. You just need to win one more to go to the Final Four. I mean, you saw it with Albany a couple of years ago. You see it with Towson. Some of these not random schools, but not considered hotbeds or perennial powerhouses. So you're looking at teams like St. Joe's and Richmond. They get one done this weekend. They're looking one game away from the Final Four. Pretty cool.
What just happened with the Bruins? I'm seeing a bunch of people freaking out on Twitter.
Let me. Are you talking about the Celtics?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Did I say Bruins? My bad.
They just choked it away.
Oh.
I was trying not to freak out.
It's tough. Sixers suck too. It's all right. All right. So let's talk about these games. So obviously we mentioned a bunch of the Sunday games already with Georgetown playing against Delaware. So I think that we're both leaning pretty heavily towards Georgetown in that one, but no, maybe not heavily, but would you say that Georgetown comes out on top?
Yeah, easily. I don't think it's really like a debate. I think Georgetown.
I think Delaware makes it interesting, but at the end of the day, I just think that Georgetown is just so good at this point.
Yeah, I think that this is Georgetown and Kevin Warren need to get over the hump this year.
I agree. The Maryland Vermont game, it's going to be a good moment for the Catamounts, a good chance for a lot of those guys to get some more NCAA tournament experience under their belt. But at the same time, it's going to be a pretty long day, especially for the defense. And then you're obviously leaning Harvard in that Harvard-Rutgers matchup. I like the Scarlet Knights in that one. So we finally have a little differing opinion on that one. So let's just stay with the Sunday games, and then we'll wrap back around to Saturday. Obviously, okay. A little, maybe we're not going, what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? I'm bad with words right now. Who gives a shit? All right, let's just talk about the other game on Sunday. This is going to be the 2:30 game on Sunday. We've got Cornell and Ohio State. That is going to be a rematch. I believe that these teams played back in the beginning of March, and that was a 14-11 win for Cornell. So we always say it's hard to beat the same team twice in one season. With that being said, I think it happened pretty much every time that we said it before the conference tournament. So do you think that Cornell comes out on top with their second win over the Buckeyes in 2022?
Yeah, I do. I think Adler shuts down Myers. I think this is Big Red all the way, to be honest. No real doubt in this one.
Yeah. So I mean, just looking at what Ohio State has done this year, I was a little shocked that they got into the tournament, but at the same time, I think that they've still had a decent season, right? It's not saying that they had a bad season. I just think that, maybe Notre Dame belongs in there ahead of them, but obviously Notre Dame lost that head-to-head matchup. But just looking at what they've done this year on the road, they are not a very good team. So they have one win on the road this year, and that was way back in February against North Carolina. Since then, they've lost on the road to Cornell. They've lost on the road to Rutgers. They've lost on the road to Maryland. And then obviously they were on the road for the Big Ten semifinals, where they also lost to Rutgers. So on the road, a pretty rough go for Ohio State this year. Now I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up a point that I just brought up against Harvard, where a lot of freshmen, this is a very senior heavy team. So like that's always going to play a little bit more. Like if it's a tight game at halftime, like I think that maybe they come out with just a lot of juice to start off that third quarter, and then anything can happen from there. But I do think, Gavin Adler is just top tier defense, like a first team All-American defenseman. And when you've got one of those guys in the bag for you, and then, you're stopping them on that end, you give the ball to John Piatelli on the other end, and it ends up in the back of the net, turn and rake, see you later.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I honestly, I'm so fucking mad about the Celtics. God fucking damn it. Oh, damn. I just, this is what you get when you record during the middle of a do or die game. I can't believe they choked the fucking lead away. But yes, going back to Ohio State, I think that Cornell will probably break Ohio State's fans' hearts, similar to the way that the Bucks fans are breaking the Celtics fans' hearts tonight. Yeah, there's not really much I have to say about the game. I think that Cornell's defense is better than Ohio State's offense, and I think that Cornell will just get it done on the offensive end. Ohio State's defense hasn't done much to stand out to me this year. I think that the Big Ten's a joke. I think that the Ivy League is really good. So that's where I stand. I will say that the conference that has the most to lose this weekend is the Ivy League, of course. How many teams do get knocked out for them to be like the Ivy League's a joke? The Big Ten has a lot to gain from this. You get three, you sweep the board as the Big Ten teams. People start taking notice. People start saying, well, you guys were saying that we were all jokes all year. But yeah, not much on that game.
Yeah. My bad. I was just checking to see if it's not them. I thought that there was a chance that we could get a CJ Kirst versus Colin Kirst matchup in the next round with Cornell and Rutgers, but they'd have to both get to the Final Four in order for that to happen. And I don't see either of them doing that. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, I think that overall, I think maybe both offenses, maybe a little even. I wouldn't necessarily say that I would give a slight edge to Cornell's offense over Ohio State, probably. Not much, but I would definitely give the edge defensively and in net for, I'm a big Chase Erling guy. So
you're huge.
Yeah. So I'd give them the advantage there. So at the end of the day, comes down to faceoffs, and faceoffs is actually probably where Ohio State really helps themselves out in this matchup. But overall, yeah, I think that Cornell comes out on top of this one, but pretty close.
Yeah, I also like Cornell in this one.
All right, cool. So then let's get back into the Saturday slate of games. So at 12 noon Eastern on ESPNU, we've got Princeton and BU. Pretty sure that this was a match. Yeah, this was a matchup earlier in the season. And actually, this is this is a tough trend for BU this year, because they have not been able to beat an Ivy League team this year. They've lost to Harvard, they've lost to Yale, and then they already lost to Princeton this year, 12-7. So 0-3 against the Ivies. Do you see that changing this weekend when they get a chance to play against Princeton again, or do you see them going 0-4?
They go 0-4. Princeton, I mean, you could kind of make the same argument as you made for Harvard, I guess, saying, are they a little cold because they didn't make the Ivy League tournament? I think Princeton probably, if anything, feels like they are the best Ivy team, even though they weren't able to prove it. So I think they come out a little bit hungry. I like them to beat BU.
Yeah, I think that again, not playing in 2 weeks is definitely going to hurt Princeton in this one, especially given the way that BU has had to get here. So, they had a tight game against Army in the regular season. Then they had a tight win against Lehigh to, in the conference tournament. And then they had to beat Army in the conference championship. So BU's rolling right now. They're in a good position to play tournament ball. Meanwhile, Princeton's just been sitting with the thumb up their ass the past couple of weeks. So I think BU's really like their only chance here is to get off to a real hot early start in this game. Like if they can get out early and just really shake Princeton and like make them feel like what the fuck is happening here, like we just I feel like we like just got out of the locker room to start this game and we're already getting our shit kicked, then BU has a chance. And like they have offensive guys who can do that. Like Timmy Lay is an offensive stud. D'Alto 40-goal scorer. So like they have guys who can put the ball in the back of the net. At the end of the day, like I feel like Princeton just has more of those guys though. And like BU, like they're real, like their attack is real solid. Like their attack is great. But you know, if those guys aren't going, are they getting as much help from the midfield as Princeton's getting? No, like I think Princeton's a little bit more rounded with their top six.
Yeah. Also, is it rest or rust? You could also look at it. Do they get guys healthy?
It's an age-old debate. It's a debate that will definitely come into play when we talk about another game later on Saturday with the two-time defending champs.
Mm-hmm.
In this scenario, I'm going to go ahead and say that Princeton is going to be like a maybe not rust, but dust, right? Like, so they're just going to have to like brush some of that off to start the game. And then I think they get themselves going. So they're not on total rust, but I wouldn't give them rest either.
I like that. I like that saying too.
All right. So moving on. So hold up. I think we were both going Princeton on that one?
Yeah, I'm Princeton on that one. I don't think BU really has too much. I don't want to say a chance because everyone has a chance. But yeah, Princeton I like a lot. How about that?
Yeah, I like, and this is a game where I think BU could definitely go into the locker room at halftime with a small lead. But then I think things just start clicking for Princeton and they come out on top of this one probably by a couple goals. Penn and Richmond. So Penn, your 2022 Ivy League champs, they put on a masterclass in the Ivy League tournament after taking down Brown in the semifinals and then taking down Yale in the conference championship. And Richmond, coming out of the SoCon after ending the Cinderella season for Jacksonville. They've also, I mean, Richmond, listen, they're hot and they've proven that they can play against anybody in this nation when they took down Virginia earlier in the year. Now, did they benefit from a couple injuries? Maybe. Yeah. I mean, definitely for sure. But like you beat Virginia. I'm not going to say that they're going to come into this game with no chance, even regardless of how great Penn has been playing over the last week.
I like Richmond personally in this one. I think Brian Lansbury is a stud. I like the way that I feel like Richmond's also one of those programs, kind of like Richmond being in the Final Four one day wouldn't surprise me as a program. I think that's the trajectory of Richmond's program. I think that they can steal recruits from the Northeast. I think they could get Philly, Long Island kids to come down, buy into their program. So I see Richmond as a Final Four team one day. And I think that this is a team that's talented enough to get there. And it would not surprise me. And if they beat Penn, all they have to do is beat the winner of Rutgers, Harvard. That's not impossible.
No, not at all. And I think that, I don't know, a lot of this game is going to come down to, one, did they ever say anything on the broadcast about James Shipley in that conference championship? I know that he wasn't playing, but I don't know if it was just like a tweak or something like that. Either way, like something to watch out for in this game, James Shipley's health. I don't know. I think overall, like I would say that Penn has the best player on the field, the second best player on the field, Probably like the top like 4 players on the field. So like that's always going to help you win a game. The thing that scares me the most about Penn is just like every game that I watch, it seems like they have like 5 to 7 minutes, like and that maybe not in a row, but like there are like 5 to 7 minutes of every game where it looks like they just like forget how to play lacrosse. Like they're turning the ball over on the clears. They're forcing the crease a lot. They're not getting good like looks that way. They're rushing things. So Richmond's one of those teams where it's like, yeah, like they're going to be a pain in your ass all day. And if you have those 5 to 7 minutes of playing like some dangerously shitty lacrosse and like you let them stick around in the game after, like throughout that, then it's going to be a dogfight the whole time. So, now maybe Penn puts together if Penn puts together a whole 60 minutes and James Shipley is healthy, and Sam Hanley is just going downhill like the 6'10" monster that he is, then I think that Penn comes out on top of this one without breaking much of a sweat. But if they do their usual, oh fuck, like we forgot how to clear the ball for half a quarter and Richmond makes you pay on a couple of them, dogfight until the end. But I still like Penn coming out on top regardless.
I also I feel like Richmond, you don't know which Penn team is going to show up, as we've said. I don't know. Is it going to be the sloppy Penn or is it going to be the cleaned up Penn? Is Shipley hurt? Is Shipley injured? Is he healthy? You don't know. There's question marks surrounding that. Penn, since the Virginia game, really, or even you could look at like since the Georgetown game, they're playing good ball. They know how to put the ball in the back of the net, that's for sure. So if their shooters get going, I don't know. I think
they
it
know
depends on
put in the
alert.
net, and they've all. I mean, like look at what they did just last weekend in the conference tournament. I mean, they held Brown to 9 goals. They held Yale to 9 goals. Now, yeah, I mean, maybe you could say
no. I think Richmond knows how to put it in the back of the net.
Oh. All right, yeah.
Like Penn does too, but I'm just like I'm set. I think Richmond upsets Penn.
Listen, I love that because we need a few differences in here. So
because Richmond's just heating up at the right time. It's not really like they've had like sure you could say they look at playing the SoCon, but they like since April they played Jacksonville twice.
I'm not down on the SoCon
twice. No, I know, but I'm just saying for anyone out there that's like, oh, they're playing the SoCon, it's not the Ivy, blah blah. Jacksonville. I don't think if you've watched any sort of lacrosse this year, I think that anyone would be like, yeah, Jacksonville's a good lacrosse team. High Point's not a bad team, and they fucking kicked the shit out of High Point the first time. So they've played High Point twice since the beginning. So since April, they played Virginia, who beat 17-13. Jacksonville twice where they split them. Mercer and VMI, which are cakewalks, and then High Point twice, and they kicked the shit out of High Point the one time. So you can't really say the same thing about Penn in the past, like since April. You don't know what team you're gonna get.
Yeah, but in the past week they beat Brown and Yale, and that's better than anything. Well, maybe besides that Virginia.
Sure, but how many?
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Where there's a lot of inconsistency with Penn, and the fact that they haven't found a way to lock in what Penn they want to be for an extended period of time. Yeah, is definitely dangerous.
I don't know. I also just think that with the Ivy League tournament, did you exhaust a lot of mental toughness last weekend, or is it one of those things where you're getting the ball rolling? So I don't know. There's just a lot of question marks for me.
Yeah,
I think if they go to the Final Four.
Yeah, I think that the like, did you waste a lot of of your energy? I think that would play a lot better if Penn then had to go on the road for this game, especially because that bus ride to Richmond is not necessarily that quick. Pretty boring. You're going to be, maybe it's going to be a little warm in the bus. You're going to be, I don't know what the dress code is to travel. So having to go through all that in the Ivy League tournament, and then if they had to travel, would be a little rough. The fact that it's a home game makes it a little bit easier for them to kind of rest up and get themselves ready. I think that a home game is definitely going to help them be a little bit more comfortable in this one. And I think that that's probably why we'll get a little bit of the shit kicker United Penn than the, oh fuck, we forgot how to throw and catch the ball for a little bit.
Look, I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time on this podcast, and it would for sure not be the last. But I think the winner of this has a great shot of going to the Final Four.
I like that. I would agree with that. Like either way it shakes out, whether it's Penn or Richmond. I like that take.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So moving on to, I believe that this is going to be the 5:00 game. We've got now another Ivy who might be on upset alert. We've got the Yale Bulldogs, fresh off of getting their ass kicked by one Philly team in Penn. They will be hosting the St. Joseph's Hawks, making their NCAA tournament debut under Taylor Ray. So St. Joe's winner of the NEC, and Yale coming in as the runner-up in the Ivy League Conference. Now, I mean, this is a Yale team where they clearly know a thing or two about tournament success, especially in the past few years, right? They've played in national championship games. They've won national championship games, been to Final Four. Like Andy Shea has this Yale team as a top tier program. And St. Joe's really hopes that this tournament berth makes them a program on the rise, but still, you know, it would be ill-advised to even think about putting these two programs in the same stratosphere. So you want to talk about a team who has nothing to lose and a team who has everything to lose. Like this is a big David versus Goliath matchup here. Doogs?
Anyone that listens to the selection show probably knows where I'm going with this. Again, who bought Yale when everyone was selling Yale? Just remember this. Who was buying Yale when everyone was selling Yale? Your boy. So this team's gotten better and better throughout the year. They're tough. They're well coached. They win in May. They have it really all. They have the stud in Brandel. They have the defensive leadership in Chris Fake. They got the young studs. They got the sharpshooters. But you smell that?
I'm catching a whiff of it right now. You know what? It's actually coming in pretty heavy here.
Yeah, that's upset alert. It smells like upset alert to me. Upset alert. I think the Joes, they just got something cooking. I think very highly of Taylor Ray. I think he's one of the more underrated coaches in probably college lacrosse. I think that Zach Cole is going to steal a lot of possessions for
TD Erlin ain't walking through that door.
He's not. He actually graduated a couple years ago. For those that forget, I think Bomber's a stud. I think the midfielders for the Joes are studs. Who is the guy you were talking about? Patrick Clemens.
Pat Clemens. He's going to be a menace defensively. And yeah, I mean,
I like Joes. I'm not going to set up the be like. I think that they have to
beat around the bush. I like it.
Let's cut to the bullshit. Let's get to the bullshit.
Listen, I'm riding with the Hawks on this one. The Hawk never dies. I mean, this is a team where, again, like I mentioned this a lot, like they're a team that loves to score the ball. And I know that like any offensive player does, but like they do it in a way where they like to be as disrespectful as possible. Like they're going to score. They're going to make sure that their social team gets a great angle of it. They're going to post it. Yeah. They're going to tag you on the way out. They're going to be like, hey, remember when I fucking dunked on you like this? I mean, they've got 3 40 goal scorers on the team. So if you have Zach Cole winning faceoffs and getting the ball out to those guys, they're going to score. Like they're going to get theirs. Like I mentioned, you know, they've got some guys defensively who can really be a problem for like, at the end of the day, yeah, Matt Brandel is easily the best player in this game. The best player in this matchup is Matt Brandel. There's no doubt about that. But if he's, you know, getting in a little bit of trouble with whatever matchup he's facing, I think that St. Joe's has enough guys where they can make life hard for some of those younger offensive players who would have to then step up and fill in for Brandow. If Brandow's not able to completely take this one over by himself, which he has the capability of doing. So like, I'm not saying like, I do think that there's still a very good chance that Yale wins this game just based off Matt Brandow alone. Like, I think he's that good, but if he is getting locked up a little bit, I think that St. Joe's has enough to be like, all right, like, yeah, Chris Lyons, like you're probably going to get some of yours, but also at the end of the day, like you're a freshman. We're going to figure out a way to shut you down. And then we're going to shut you down. We're going to bring it down the other end of the field. One of our 40 goal scorers is going to put it in the back of the net. We're going to go line up at the faceoff stripe. Zach Cole's going to get us the ball again. We're going to take it back down. We're going to score again. And we're just going to take it for a little bit. So I do think that there's a heavy upset alert here. Maybe a lot of that is my Philly bias. I'm going to pick St. Joe's in this one. But at the end of the day, like also Matt Brandow is just so fucking nasty at lacrosse. So like, I'm not going to be like, they have like this game's St. Joe's all the way. Like, I think that it's a coin toss between the entire St. Joe's roster, their bench, their family, their coaching staff, their training staff, like their dean of admissions versus Matt Brandow. And at the end of the day, I think that that's a toss up.
I'm going St. Joe's. But if Yale wins and you come at me calling me stupid, I won't flinch and I won't care. And I'll probably pick Yale to win the following week and I'll hop on their bandwagon again.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Now we mentioned home field advantage earlier when we were talking about how Penn's not going to have to how Richmond's going to have to travel to Penn. Now you want to talk about the definition of home field advantage. Let us talk about the Brown Bears. They will be hosting the two-time defending champion Virginia Cavaliers in Providence this weekend. And what's Virginia doing to get ready for this game? How are the two-time defending champs getting themselves dialed in to go up to Providence to play against the same Brown program that Lars Tiffany used to coach, that Lars Tiffany played for, coached at, brought them to a Final Four in 2016, and then just left them, just ghosted them to head down to Charlottesville to take over for Dom Starja in Virginia right now. So this is a tweet from Mike Barber on Twitter. I believe his handle is at RDT_Mike Barber. All right, so here we go. Let's hope I don't fumble over any of these words. To simulate the hostile environment it expects Saturday night at Brown, UVA lacrosse had about 40 students attend last night's scrimmage, heckling the team and coaches. One yelled to Lars Tiffany, "If you were a better coach, you would have won a national championship at Brown." So Virginia, as they're getting ready for this matchup against Brown, like they're not worried about the X's and O's. They're not going over film. They're not scouting. They're not going over their own offense, like what they need to do to win this game by themselves. They're getting ready to face Larkin Kemp and all those other insane Brown alums who are going to be tailgating their balls off for this game, showing up to that field rowdy as ever, and just letting the two-time defending champs have it. So Larkin and the boys already well established in Lars Tiffany's head here.
I think that's a bunch of bullshit. To be honest.
In what way?
I don't think that I think the whole like, oh, they're in Lars's head. How about Lars is probably being a good coach? You know, there's one team that's won two national championships and probably knows how to prepare for a playoff atmosphere. And it's probably Lars. He knows what he's getting into because he knows how much this means to Brown, because since he's the alumni, he coached there. He knows what he's walking into. If he didn't even try to prepare for the atmosphere or didn't even try to prepare in the slightest bit for this game, I think he'd be a horrible coach. And we'd be saying, what was he thinking? Like, you know, he's probably playing music really loudly or like blowing whistles at practice, you know, like with the siren, trying to like, so they could go through their play calls. And then I saw some people chirping like, oh, that's a D3 crowd. Like it's going to be a lot more people than 40. Do you know how fucking hard it must have been to find 40 kids on campus that are ready just to like scream their head off? Like, it's lacrosse. It's not like you're preparing for a football game. It's not like the UVA football coach is like, yo, come on down. And like, can you guys like help us like practice for this Virginia Tech atmosphere? Funding 40 kids, I was surprised. So I think that this whole thing, like in your head is kind of a bunch of bullshit, to be honest. Like, you don't think so? Like, I think that
I think that Lars is a little bit nervous about heading into this environment. And I think that this is a classic case of a coach just overthinking something. I think that you're the 2-time defending champs. I think that it doesn't matter what environment you step into. You should just be focused on playing your brand of lacrosse and know that that's going to be good enough to beat whoever you go up against. I think the moment you start wasting, even if you're wasting 5 minutes thinking about, all right, like we got to get ourselves ready for this environment, like you're just hyping everything up. And then I just think that you're focusing on the wrong things heading into, and who knows, like maybe this was like a one-time thing. Maybe it lasted for like 20 minutes and then that was the end of it. Still think that's 20 minutes too long.
Yeah, I'm on the complete opposite page about this. I think that the fact that he is preparing his team to walk into this type of environment, or like he knows this is his first, like they lost to Brown 2 years ago, right before the COVID break. So you know that this team knows these players, probably wants a little bit of revenge too. A lot of these guys were on the team the year that they lost. So like, like at what point, how long can you prepare for a lacrosse game? In my opinion, basketball and lacrosse are two sports where you can't really, at some point you watch too much film. You have to go out and just execute and play. Where football, you can learn something new. You can learn tendencies, all of that. I don't think lacrosse takes as much preparation and film work as football. So the fact that he spent 20 minutes preparing them for the atmosphere, preparing them for like a really loud environment, I don't think it's that crazy.
Yeah, but then you just start talking about it, and like you spend the 20 minutes like doing it, and who knows like how long it was. But then like the whole rest of the week, it's just built up in your head like, yeah, man, like we're gonna be walking into a battle here, boys. Like we're gonna be walking into hostile territory, and it's like, all right, like who gives a fuck? Like you're 2-time defending champs. That would amp me the fuck up.
That would amp me the fuck up. I think it would amp anybody else. Like if like they're 2-time defending champs, like they're like, yeah, people should be fucking cursing at us. I don't know. That's my mentality in it. Like if I was getting screamed at, like I think I'd play better. Like hostile environments, like get me like fired up. Like if my coach was telling me that like they are going to scream like obscenities at you or whatever, I would be like, let's fucking go.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I'm just thinking,
I don't think it's going to get in their heads. They're 2-time defending champs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to be scared about the hostile environment. Like I'm not saying like, but I'm just thinking like maybe focusing on it a little bit too much. Now, what I will say, little piece of advice. Now, Larkin, I know that you're listening to this right now. Maybe we'll even put this one out on a social clip for you. A little piece of advice. If you truly care about the Brown program, and if you really want that tailgate to be a success, if you really want to have that home field advantage work in your favor, do not, under any circumstances whatsoever, target Matt Moore with any of the chirps. I swear to God, if you start to chirp Matt Moore from the sidelines, or if you start saying any shit to him during warmups, he will fucking murder you. He will put 5 goals in the back of the net before you can fucking take your next breath. Do not try to rattle Matt Moore, because it has never ended well for anybody. You leave that man alone, let him do his own thing. Maybe he'll forget about you. The moment you start saying some shit to him, it's fucking over.
Yeah, I mean it sounds like you know something that I don't. And I want to hear about it later if that's the case. And I think that when we're talking about the rust versus rest thing, Virginia's healthy now. Virginia's healthy. They had the rest. They should be healthier than they were before. And again, they're playing for the fucking ACC right now. They're not playing for the University of Virginia. They're not playing for the three-peat. They're playing for the ACC, and they're trying to show like what the fuck is good in their league. And I won't call out any names or anything like that. But I did see a couple of UVA guys liking some tweets about how the ACC got a little bit fucked in the selection show. So I think that they think the ACC is still the best conference, and I think that they're going to show Brown what the fuck is up, and they're going to laugh in their faces as everyone's drunk as shit in the fans. The fans are going to be getting drunk as shit in the parking lot in Brown in Providence, Rhode Island, and they're going to be crying on the when Virginia walks away. I'm telling you, I personally like I haven't had a buy. Have I had a buy 5 yet?
No, not yet.
Virginia by 5.
All right. Listen. I think that this is going to be a fight. This is going to be a great game, great environment, just an awesome way to get this tournament started in Providence. I think that it's going to be so good for the sport. Yeah, I mean, rest versus rust. I think that this has been some really good rest for Virginia lately. I think that obviously everyone knows that they've been in some injury trouble this year. They've played against 3 cupcakes on the way out of the season: Quinnipiac, Syracuse, and Lafayette. So they haven't really had to expend much energy to close out the season. They haven't played in a couple weeks, so I think that they're going to be fresh for this game. But I do think, I don't know, I just think that right now, if it were just the guys on the field playing, I think that Maryland goes out there and waxes them. I still just think that this game, this is going to be a Lars Tiffany game, and I don't think in a good way. I think that he's just overthinking this one. He's going back to his alma mater. He's got to go back to the place that he just left in the middle of the night to go squeak out a tournament win. I think that I don't think. I think what would be best for Virginia is if they were like, "Hey, coach, like maybe just hang out a little bit. We've got this. Like, we're 2-time defending champs. We're the ones who went out there on the field and did it. We got this. You just hang out for a little bit." But I'm going to go with Brown. Yep, go ahead.
I got one more thing to say. You were talking a lot about what game was it? About the senior leadership? Was that the Rutgers game?
Yeah. Well, Ohio State has a senior leadership, and then I was saying that Harvard just is a bunch of children.
Look, I think you can make the argument that is Brown a bunch of children? Not children, but younger classmen, people that are just experiencing the tournament for the first time, with the COVID year and the skipped year. A lot of these juniors really only played half a freshman year. So but they haven't had a chance. They haven't had a chance to do it the past 2. This could also be, I'm not saying it is, because Virginia's just, they don't what is it? Rebuild, they reload. They don't rebuild, but they reload, they don't rebuild. And you could possibly say, like, Shelley could be looking at things as this is the last time I could possibly get a shot at playing with Matt Moore, playing with Petey, at people that I know how to get it done in the national championship, know how to get it done in the tournament. So I think Virginia comes out fired up. I think Virginia play of the weekend, Virginia.
All right. I think that this is I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to call it a coin flip, but I'm going to side with Brown just because listen, I believe in special moments. I believe in, I think that everything right now is just everything that Larkin has been putting into this Brown program. I think it's just culminating for a truly special moment. And it might end after that quarter or after that first round win. But I think that there's just been too much good juju going around and for that to not take place this weekend. So I'm going to go coin flip, but I'm rooting for Brown.
You know where I stand.
We know where you stand. All right. So real quick, let's just run through it and give out our picks. So 12 p.m. on Saturday, Princeton BU. I believe, yeah, Princeton, both of us. 2:30, Penn and Richmond. I like I like the Quakers coming out on this one, giving us just a big old Sam Hanley game. Doogs, I think you were in between, but I think you were leaning Richmond. All right, so there's a little difference there. St. Joe's and Yale, I've got the Hawks.
Yeah, I'll take the Hawks.
Virginia Brown, split down the middle.
Virginia.
On Sunday, I don't know which game is going to be. I don't think that the schedule's out just yet, but either way, one of them is going to be at 12. Georgetown versus Delaware. I still like the Hoyas in this one, but it'll be tight.
Georgetown.
Then we've got Maryland versus Vermont. No need to even go into that one. That's Maryland. Cornell, Ohio State. I like Cornell again.
Cornell.
And then Rutgers, Harvard, another one where we are split. I'm going Rutgers as much as that hurts, but I big Rutgers in this one.
Yeah, I'm not a sellout. I'm going Harvard.
Wow.
Some people talk about it. Some people are about it.
Listen, I'm a guy who full transparency, and I mean, listen, I've got. I don't know. It hurt. I do feel like a salad on that one, but I've just talked myself into it so hard that I can't go back on myself. All right. So it looks like Rutgers, Harvard, Brown, Virginia, and Penn, Richmond. So those are the games to watch. And then you guys will figure out which one of us is just the smartest man on the planet and which one is a full blown donkey brained idiot. All right. So that is your 2022 NCAA tournament first round preview. So we're going to be seeing a lot of great players on the field this weekend, but also a lot of great players. Their team sucked this year and they didn't make the tournament. But what they did do this past week is they got drafted to the PLL. So the 2022 college draft just went down on Tuesday night. Little bit of a shocker there with the first overall pick. I think, most people were expecting Chris Gray to go first overall. Logan Wisnauskas goes first. So number one goes number one to the Chrome. Chris Gray goes second. I'm sure you guys all know the picks by now, but anything really stand out to you during the draft? Any picks really stand out to you, Doogs?
I thought that the Wisnauskas pick was weird, especially because they went with Nick Turn later. Sudan must have really thought that like he needed a lefty sniper, because I don't think that you think of the number one guy as the guy, and while he's been able to play that role this year, I kind of thought that Moore. I think that Moore should have been the pick. I think Matt Moore is the best player in the country. He could play midfield, he could play attack, he could play off ball, he could be the quarterback. He's done it all. So I think he's just very adaptable. He's a pro's pro. I think he's the most pro ready out of anybody. But then you look at Chris Gray, a little undersized, got it done in the NCAA, all-time leading points in the NCAA. So Wisnauskas is also a big body. So I don't know, maybe he's a little bit more pro ready, but I thought the pick was a little perplexing. It seemed like Gray was the lock, but I thought that Moore should have been the pick.
Yeah, I mean, like you just look around the league and like you look at what others the Redwoods, you've got Pinnell running the show at X there. Water Dogs, like you're gonna have Michael Sowers back there. Like you look around and it's like, all right, like do you need like a great X attackman to be the quarterback? And like you look at those teams and like they're two of the best players on the planet. But then you look at who have won a championship in the PLL so far, and it's like the Whipsnakes don't really have that X attackman guy. Like they've got Zed and Rambo. The Chaos definitely don't have a guy like that. So, looking at Chris Gray as the first overall pick, it's like, yeah, like would they have gotten their, they would have gotten their Jordan Wolf back, or would they have gotten their Rob Pinnell? Would they have gotten their Michael Sowers? Sure. But you look at what's winning championships so far in the league, and it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe like a big body attackman who can get himself to the cage and shoot the ball and feed, like maybe like that's the move. So perplexing for sure, but I can also see the benefit of it. And that's also like Logan Wisnauskas is also like a sick son of a bitch. So it's not like it's like, wow, like,
yeah,
that was a reach. It's just wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't what I was expecting.
When Sudan came into the draft, like we have 3 options, it was clear that Wisnauskas was the 3rd option. And then that's when I started selling myself on it either being Moore or Wisnauskas. I personally would have went with Moore. It's not really that I'm a podcaster and there's people that run these leagues and win championships, and I'm not that guy. So I'm just a stupid commenter with stupid opinions. But I also hate mock drafts. I hate people that are like, I put like Nakai at like 10th on my big board of like 10 best players. People are like, you think he's really going to go out of the first round? It's like, yeah, I fucking do. I think that he's a really good lacrosse player, but I don't think he's going to be a top 8 pick. Like, that's not me like slandering him. And then he goes like 16th, and I was like, fuck you fuckers. Mock drafts are so stupid. I fucking hate them. Sorry, Dan, but I hate them. They're so dumb. And then the grades. Like, we're gonna grade people on like how we think that these teams drafted. Like, we won't know how good these fucking draft picks are until like a couple of years from now. Half these players aren't even going to be in the league in a couple of years. So like, I think the whole thing is so dumb and stupid.
2 things there. So one, totally with you on mock drafts sucking, especially because there's no one in the world. There's no one who does a mock draft and then they're like, that's my mock. Like, that's my mock. Like, they're always like, now here's my next mock draft. Oh, here's my 3rd mock draft. Here's my 4th, like a weekly thing. It's like, listen, you can't keep doing this shit, because then it's just like, all right, like you're just playing make believe in your head. Like, how about you just hang out a little bit until the draft actually happens? Like, if you want to do a mock draft, you should have to do one like a couple weeks before the draft and then shut the fuck up about it and then see how you do right then and there. The grading of the draft. This is a pick that I really want to talk about because I feel like a lot of people are shitting on it, and they're gonna, when they grade the draft, like they're gonna give it a bad grade, but also like, it's like insane to me because I don't. So the Asher Nolting pick for the Cannons, a lot of people out there like are like just being like, what the hell was Quirk thinking with picking up Asher Nolting? Yeah, he's a great player, but like how's he going to fit in with the offense with Lyle? Like, here's the thing. A lot of people, they look at Asher Nolting and they're like, yeah, like he's better when he has the ball on a stick. He needs to be like a primary ball holder. And then you've got Lyle, who is the best player in the world. So obviously the ball is going to be in his stick. What's crazy to me, why like everyone's already rushing to be like, these 2 guys can't play together. At what point in Asher Nolting's playing career has he ever not been the best player on his team? Probably never, right? Like, he was probably in high school always the best player on his team. He came into High Point and was leading the team in points as a freshman all 4 years. Like, maybe like the first year that he played lacrosse. So like, everyone's like, oh, he can't be like, he's not an off-ball guy. He needs to be carrying the ball. It's like, no, idiots. Like, he's just never played on a team where he hasn't had to have the ball all the time. Like, who knows? Like, you could put him out there with Lyle Thompson and maybe he's going to be great off ball. Maybe he's going to be great at setting picks and slipping off. Like, nobody knows because they've never had to see Asher Nolting play with someone who's better than him on his own team. So like that's the one thing that I've seen with the grading of drafts that just doesn't make any sense to me, where people are like, oh, this is never going to work. And it's like, you have no fucking idea if that's true or not, because you've just never seen it.
Also, I think that Sean Quirk wouldn't have drafted a guy that he didn't think would fit into his offense. Like, at the end of the day, like,
no, I don't think that he's I think that he's kind of an idiot when it comes to drafting at the end of the day. So I'm not going to give like Sean Quirk I'm not going to be like, oh, that guy knows what he's doing. He's listen, all right, that's a little disrespectful. He's a head coach in the PLL, so maybe he knows what he's doing, but I don't think that he's good at the draft, and I think that he needs to stop giving the Atlas his 1st round pick every year.
I mean, that's a different question. He stinks at trades.
Yeah,
I think he stinks at trades. I mean, the Paul Rabel trade will go down as like he won All-Star year. I'll get into the next thing after. Yeah. I'll get into the next thing after. The Chris Gray to the Atlas, just like him, T, and then the fact that you could throw in Caraway. Like, I think Caraway will probably have to move to midfield. I just don't see how it fits unless. But
Oh, you
Eric
don't.
Wall, like on the I don't know, because I think Eric Wall will go on the crease.
Oh. You're just saying you don't know.
Offense.
Yeah, you're not saying you don't know how the offense fits. You're just saying you don't know how all these guys fit into the lineup.
Yeah, like Caraway,
Yeah.
I love him. Like he's a fucking stud. Like he can get traded from the Atlas and he'll be a stud on any of the teams.
Yeah.
He's a pro's pro. He's got to be a fixture in the league. My only thing is, how does he fit with Gray coming in? Like, if Gray goes to X, and like, well, why wouldn't Teat play X? It's just that there's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
But I think there'll be like, I envision it as kind of like Clark was talking last night. Teat on the left, Gray on the right, put Law in the middle and be like the off-ball guy, kind of like the Jay Carlson. I think that's a scary fucking offense. I think the Atlas to win. Woo!
And then coming out of the midfield, you would have Caraway and Costabile, just like two of the angriest players in all time. And Docs, yeah.
That team is scared. Danny Logan. I mean, and then we're gonna get into the Atlas trading for the cat. So they're trading the Cannons. The Cannons got Bubba Fairman in round 2, pick 3, and the Atlas will get the Cannons' first round pick next year. The Cannons very well could be the worst team in the league again, or like bottom 2 again.
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna get a high pick for sure out of that trade.
And who knows? Like that was the trade of the night. Anything else really stick out to you?
Well, I mean, I think that that Matt Moore then falling to the Archers is just an embarrassment of riches. I think that's. I mean, the Archers have to win a championship this year with that lineup offensively. But he's just going to be so good there. Oh, you know what? I actually did. This was a take that I originally put out there, just kind of joking, but I've talked myself into it being like if you're a betting man and if you're able to bet on player props in week 1, I mentioned this. So I said that Matt Moore getting drafted to the Archers is huge just because they wear the same colors as Virginia. So like if Matt Moore wanted to, he could play in week 1 in his Virginia gloves and his Virginia elbow pads. Cause like, you don't want to have to go into week 1 breaking in new gear. It's going to feel a little awkward, especially like that first couple quarters. But if Matt Moore coming fresh off of another trip to Memorial Day weekend, then goes and plays week 1 for the Archers, gets to wear the same gloves, same elbow pads, everything's broken in, game ready. I think that he has the best week out of any of the rookies in week 1.
It's fair. That's a fair take. I also think the Archers getting a face-off guy was huge. I made a tweet right after the Moore thing. I was like, cool. They got Matt Moore. They got another offensive piece, but like, do they still have a face-off guy? They got Ignacio from Ohio State, who I'm fairly high on. I like Canadian guys, and I think that he'll actually adapt to the pro game pretty well. I feel like the Canadian guys are just tough at the X, and with the new face-off rules that the PLL has, I think he was a good pick.
Yeah. Another one, just shout out to Max Wayne of Christopher Newport, the lone D3 guy getting drafted this year. He got picked up by the Atlas in the 3rd round. I mean, rest of everything kind of, I don't think that anyone had, well, what's up?
The Chaos got a bunch of Canadians.
Yeah.
Of course, the Whipsnakes got a couple of Maryland guys. I personally love the Wheaton Jacoboy's pick for the Whipsnakes. I think that he could be a weapon on man up. I think that it'll be interesting to see, because between him, I think him and Will Perry, my boy, they're going to be battling at training camp, because Wheaton will be there, for who kind of stays on the roster, or because who knows? Do they cut like a John Haas? Do they cut a Mike Chanachuk? But then you're looking at Wheaton and Will, both great talented middies, both very good shooters. So it'll be interesting. I mean, do they want to go younger? Do they want to keep a couple vets? So it'll be interesting to see how the Whipsnakes shake out that midfield.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that anyone did terrible in there. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how the Asher Nolting playing with Lyle Thompson actually looks in person. but like right now, like I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they just drafted a top 10 career college lacrosse point scorer. So it's like, if a guy like that's on the board, like at the end of the day, when it comes to drafting, you always have to take just the best player available. So I'm not gonna shit on the Cannons for that one. The trading up for Bubba Fairman might have been like, I don't hate the pick of Bubba Fairman, but I don't think that you needed to get rid of your first round pick next year to get him. But other than that, like I don't think that anyone necessarily did a terrible job in this draft. I know that there are some people who might be a little bit down on it. I don't really see that.
Who do you think had the best one?
I think Atlas. No, I would go. I think Atlas and Archers had the best night. I thought that Redwoods and Chaos got like exactly who they needed. I'd also maybe put Whip Snakes in there. I don't see anything wrong with what the Chrome did. Like, I just don't know, like, what's the deal with Brendan Nichtern? Like, how long can he play for before he has to go serve? Like, I don't know how that works. Yeah, I don't like, I've heard how it works, but like, I don't know off the top of my head. So it's like,
does Johnny Surdick, like Johnny Surdick, I feel like has played.
He did, but then I thought last year he was on active military.
So I bet you he plays this summer. They probably give him the summer.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So I mean, if he plays this summer, like I think that the Chrome did great. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think so. You've got Wisnauskas, who's a stud, Nichtern, who's a stud. I think that Ryan McNulty is. I mean, he's a Philly guy, so I'm obviously going to have to hype him up a little bit. But I think that he's a perfect fit for the pro game. A shortened field, up and down, real fast. Like I think that he's a guy who can really hurt you in transition. Yeah, and then I mean, you got Owen McElroy as well. Oh, you know what? Actually, though, the one thing that I do want to say about the Cannons, fuck the Cannons, because they drafted Colin Kirst after just signing our boy Drake Porter. So a little messed up that they're going to make even more of a goalie battle heading into camp for Drake. I think that was a dirtbag move. So I'm out on the Cannons. Besides, unless Drake is the starter. If Drake's the starter, then I'm all in.
Yeah, and also, look, Drake's never been shy of a little competitive spirit. Drake saw Colin Kirst get drafted and he said, you know what that means? That means one more chip to add to my shoulder. I think he never told me that, but I'm going Atlas. Atlas had the best. Atlas had the best draft, I think, by far. I think honestly, probably Chaos number 2. I really liked their draft. I liked the Redwoods draft, Whip Snakes, Chrome, Water Dogs, Cannons. I really like the Water Dogs. The Water Dogs overall, I didn't really like their draft, but I did like the pick of Jack Hanna. I just think that he fits like that Water Dogs midfielder mold of just like being tough-nosed, two-way midi. I think that he'll just fit into that offense and that midfield unit seamlessly.
Yeah. No, I'm good
and
with
I've
all
never
that.
Read analysis in my life.
What's up?
I've never been wrong on an analysis in my life.
I can't think of one single time. But yeah, so that was the 2022 PLL college draft. So I mean, we're only a few more weeks away before that season gets started. But before we get to that, we still have 3 more glorious weekends of college lacrosse, and it all gets going on Saturday at noon. So boys and girls, like whatever you have planned for this weekend, just make sure that you've got a TV screen in front of you. Couple ice cold of your favorite beverages. Grab yourself a nice spot on the couch or wherever you're going to be. Throw on ESPNU, leave it on there all day. Enjoy yourselves. Make sure while you're watching the games, one, that you're following us on socials. We are at the Crease Dive on both Twitter and Instagram. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. We might have something in play for Sunday.
Do you want to? I'm in.
All right, then. Yeah.
Do you want to announce it?
Yeah, I mean, it's your idea. So you're going to
look. So what we're going to do for definitely, it's going to be me and Jordie streaming live, at least, one or two of the games. We won't, I mean, unless a game gets really close, maybe we'll go live for it, but we're thinking about live streaming the games, talking, chatting, maybe add some PLL players to it, like kind of like a Manning cast sort of thing. Maybe we'll get like our boy Larkin, maybe Gutty, we'll talk to some people, see what their schedules are like. But, if you guys have any ideas, let us know. I think it would be fun. Maybe test it out, see if we could do it in the future. I think that it could be something cool.
Yeah. So make sure that you're subscribed to the Crease Dive on YouTube. We'll put out more information about that whenever we decide to go live. But yeah, just subscribe, give us some comments, give us some ratings, give us some positive vibes heading into the college lacrosse tournament. And in the meantime, we'll be keeping it low to high until the day we die. We out.